welcome. It's Fletch. I'm Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform, a very proud iCERT member company. We're sitting down here for an iCERT update with George Kellerman, who is the Executive Director of iCERT. Going to talk a little bit about interoperability. Thanks for joining us today, George.
Hey, thanks, Fletch. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Now, you just published, or iCERT just published, some new documentation around interoperability and our position on that fact on the webpage. What's all that about?
Well, thanks for that, Fletch. Yeah, we did. We just posted basically a renewal of iCERT's commitment to interoperability as we started the new year. And really, this kind of came out of a discussion during our member meeting in December, where many of our member companies started to talk about interoperability, became a big theme of discussion, a big topic of discussion. And so the membership started to walk through sort of all the things that we do around interoperability, why it's so important, and how as the only trade association that exclusively serves as the voice for the public safety and emergency response portion of the industry that represents manufacturers, providers, developers of emergency response technology, we thought it was very important to kind of step out and reiterate our commitment to interoperability.
You know, I think that's really important because as the entire ecosystem is changing, we're moving from one that was very proprietary and siloed to get the features that were needed to one of being open, wide open interoperability. So you've got to have that built into the DNA of the network, if you will. It's like, I don't care what email client you're using. I'm going to send you an email and there are standards there. So the standards are important, but the actual interoperability. We've gotten together, I've plugged my stuff into your stuff, and it all works great. And I think that renewal statement was the big statement of that policy.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. There's so much innovation going on. It's moving so rapidly, not only in just how we communicate to one another or between one another, but how we communicate within the emergency response and public safety sector. And so all these new systems have to be able to speak to the old systems. Essentially, all the systems have to be interoperable. They've got to be able to communicate with each other, and so that response times are improved, so that information sharing and data sharing is improved, and that the ultimate end is that whatever that response is hit right on the head in terms of what's needed. It's hit in a great time, and lives are saved. End of story. That's what it's all about.
So let me play devil's advocate for a little bit. You've got a lot of different standard organizations that are out there, and everybody's working on the technology side of the standards. These bits are going to talk to these bits. Your interoperability definitions are at a different layer, I would say above that, to be more architectural in nature. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're trying to stress, and to be clear, we work with several different groups that are working on the whole notion of interoperability and the notion of standards, so that as we eventually, transition to NG 911, which is another big hot topic of ours in terms of getting the funding to fully deploy, that those new systems of the future are interoperable. They all talk to each other in addition to the systems we have today, so that we truly do get a next generation 911 system across the country.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of groups working on interoperability right now. So you almost need interoperability of the interoperability group. So everybody's kind of talking about the same thing, or else people are going to start getting really confused.
Yeah, I think that's where iCERT plays a unique role, in that we're the industry representatives of all the companies and the players that are making the equipment. They're developing the equipment. They're developing a software that helps power the equipment. And so I think we bring a unique perspective and a unique voice into those conversations and into all those various discussions to be able to make sure that interoperability, as it's being talked about in different settings, that perhaps there's a common thread or a common theme. So at the end of the day, we do get, in practice, equipment and people that can actually speak to one another when time is of the essence.
I think one thing, as an iCERT member, it's something that I've seen over the past 2 or 3 years is a significant uptick in the number of companies that are joining iCERT and the rate of companies joining iCERT. It's been on a surge lately. What do you attribute that to?
Well, probably a couple things. One, that iCERT is becoming an established brand in terms of a known association and a known player in this space, in the public safety ecosystem, as the representative of industry. But also that, on a variety of levels, iCERT is effective in what it does. It can be an effective advocate for public safety and for emergency response for the industry. It can be an effective researcher. It can pump out a lot of information and interesting resource information and research. It can contribute to the various conversations that are going on within the public safety ecosystems, or even within government with the Department of Homeland Security and others, and contribute to all those discussions. So I think there's that part of it, and that we are sort of the home for anyone who is engaged in any innovation and any technology that helps support the emergency response and public safety ecosystem that we have across the country.
And I think one positive proof point of all that is we're starting to see iCERT documents quoted in other government documents, right? So they're referencing the work that iCERT is doing. I think that's a big validation point.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Look, the whole notion of why iCERT came to being is there was a need here. There was a void that wasn't necessarily being filled. And so it gave industry an opportunity to really create its own organization so that it can not only advocate for the greater good, but also for push out all the innovation and the technology that's moving forward. Because otherwise, folks would be left to kind of, in one-off or perhaps at different events. Here you have a consolidated organization that's just exclusively focused on all of this.
What would you say to companies that are looking at iCERT as potentially, because one of the problems is everybody's got an association for something or another, and at times it seems like there are too many doing the same thing. So what do you think the value of iCERT is to that company that's looking to be a part of the solution but wondering where to go and where to focus?
Well, I think you just hit it. If you're a company that's engaged in emergency response or the public safety technology sector, and you're looking for a way to connect with the broader community, iCERT's your home. If you're looking for a way to talk about or get engaged in the evolution of innovation and technology, iCERT's your home. And obviously, if you're looking to help advocate for the technology and the innovation to move forward in the form of NG911, we're your place. So I think there's a ready home available within iCERT for companies that are in this space for sure.
And we help deliver public safety together.
At the end of the day, we empower public safety together, which is our tagline. Exactly.
Empower public safety, correct, yeah. So, all right, great. George Kellerman, the Executive Director of iCERT. Thanks very much for sitting down and providing this update. Always enjoy talking to you, George. Glad you're on board. You've been doing a great job since you've been here.
Thanks, Fletch. Always great to have the opportunity to visit with you, and look forward to seeing everybody at iCERT events and other industry events over the course of the year. And again, if you're interested in iCERT, please look us up, and happy to visit with anyone anytime. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, great. Well, we'll see you on the next update for iCERT. Thanks very much.